Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
Birds keep flying high, fans cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Needy boys brawling, no holds barred bout. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman?
Tune in the vibe. Morning reps, blood centers. Got me on the mic now, let's spill the tea. Talking courtside dreams from history. Legends on the blacktop now and then. From Wilt to Steph, we hit it again. Better chimes in, let's go deep. Young blood's rising, can't skip a beat. Puppy prospects with fire in their eyes. Draft night suckers and hoop dream highs. Wire to wire, bring the heat. Podcast magic can't be beat. Do better, we're go better. We're hoop heads, trendsetters.
Hey, what's poppin', y'all? It is your boy, Guard E3. And welcome to our Game 2 Thunder and Wolves Watch Along, baby! Of course, joining me just like every week, he is the greatest co-host of all time. He is Mo Better. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing great, partner. Hey, welcome to everybody joining us on this live watch along. Thunder versus, of course, the T-Wolves. Let's get into it. I'm ready.
You know what? I'll say, hey, what's going on, Key? Hey, what's going on, Tony?
What's good, Tony?
And, yeah, you know, I know this is Thunder T-Wolves watch along, Mo, but I feel like we'd be doing a disservice if we didn't kind of talk a little about the game we saw yesterday. Pacers and Knicks. I don't think we're going to get a crazier game than what we witnessed last night, Mo. That was some of the most wild things I think I have ever heard or seen. I mean,
the funny thing is we had Pacers versus Cavs, and there was some insanity finishes in that series. But last night, I've seen a lot of wild playoff games. The way that ended, especially the last 2 minutes of that game, it blew my mind. And then when Halliburton hits that game tying, although in the moment we thought game winning shot, and he goes instantly into the Reggie Miller choke move. That was awesome. It was awesome.
It's so wild to watch, especially how that game played out, and that was just a complete team failure. Like, I see a lot of people trying to figure out, who to blame. Is it, Bridges? Is it OG? But let's be real, there's a little bit to go around for everybody.
Facts. That is a team that if it, we talk about team win, that was a team loss. That was a collaborative loss. The players kind of clinched up late. The best closer in the NBA he looked like anything but that late in the game. Tom Thibodeau failed to make major adjustments down the stretch. And I thought you brought up something that is actually factual as well. You want to go with a 7-man roster or 7-man rotation against a team that goes 9 deep and plays the way Indiana plays. You're playing a form of Russian roulette.
Yeah, and Oh, good hit by Jaden McDaniels for 3. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing, because if you want to beat the Pacers with a 7-man rotation, you have to blow them out. You cannot let them stay in the game, because at some point you're going to be gassed, and the Pacers are just so deep that they can just keep sending guys after sending guys. So you're going to lose that long-term battle if you're not blowing them out. But at this point, like, how big of a lead do you have to be up by for it to be considered a blowout? Because it just seems like the Pacers just come back regardless.
Apparently, you're going to need about a 25-point lead if Nesmith is going to shoot like Steph Curry in his prime.
Yeah, it's a great kick to the corner and great hit by McDaniels there. By the way, I think that Jaden McDaniels got snubbed for all defensive.
I thought for sure he was going to make it, honestly. By the way, the guys that are on there, they are all phenomenal defenders. Here's the thing about Lou Dort, and I don't want to sound like I'm a Lou Dort hater because I'm not. I think he's a terrific defender, but I don't think Lou Dort's the best defender on the Thunder. You know what I mean? Like I would have. J-Dub has his flaws, but he's a tremendous defender. And then I think Alex Caruso and J-Dub are better defenders than Dort.
I was going to say, I think the best defender on the Thunder didn't even make the defensive team. I think that's just Alex Caruso.
So I have to assume, and I could be wrong, that he's going to be at least second team All-NBA defense.
No, he just didn't make it.
Period?
No.
That's robbery. That's highway robbery. That Caruso didn't make none of the All-NBA defense. That's insane.
All right.
If you don't mind me asking, who's on the second team? Because I did not see the second team list.
Let me pull that up for... Well, 6-point game. OKC in Minnesota. 7-0 run. Need a bucket here. Oof. So your second team was Toonami Camera of the Portland Trail Blazers, Rudy Gobert, Jaren Jackson Jr., J-Dub, and Ivica Zubac.
I think Big Z is deserving of making it. You said J-Dub. J-Dub should have made it for sure. What was the young man you said from Portland?
Toumani Camera. I actually think he was. I'd say I'd keep Camera on there over even like Jaren Jackson Jr. He was that good.
My only problem with Cameron being on there is I don't really know how good a defender you are because your team is getting the brakes beat off them every night. So whatever you're doing defensively, it has little to no outcome on the games. So I'm not putting a guy that's on a lottery team on any all defensive team. He might be a really good defender, but he's not impacting wins or losses. So I can't have him on the all NBA defensive team. Like he shouldn't be over there. He shouldn't be on there over Caruso. He shouldn't be over there over a Derek White. He just shouldn't. Like he might be a really good defender, but at this stage of his career, he doesn't impact games when it comes to winning or losing. They're a really bad team, and they're talking about he's a great defender. How would we know when they're getting destroyed every night?
That was just a terrible, like, back and forth sequence. I hated both of those possessions. I think Chet should have just popped that open three that he had instead of trying to go right at Gobert, which didn't, predictably work. But then you have a chance to get going downhill, and Ant just takes like a 26-foot pull up. Like, what?
He settles. Win or lose, we talked about this during the course of the regular season. If Minnesota has one true glaring weaknesses, they have a vast shortage of guys that can create shots outside of Anthony Edwards. At this stage of his career, Mike Conley's not a shot creator. DiVincenzo's not a shot. They don't have Julius Randle can create shots to a degree, but what they desperately need is more shot creation on that roster.
Oh, absolutely. Give me. I see. I like how Rudy's defending those little I heart push shots a lot better than game one already. He's actually stepping up on those, which is very good.
Is this SGA's first time to the free throw line?
So,
I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just saying.
No, I'm just chuckling at that last Timberwolves offensive possession because they had like 4 possible chances to score there and just missed every one of them.
Again, OKC more than any team, you have to take advantage of every mismatch, every 50-50 ball, and you can't turn the ball over. If Minnesota's going to average 14 or 15 turnovers a game, they're going to get swept.
Say, and they need some of these bench pieces that were so good for them, like all year, like Dante, to pick it up as he knocks one down.
Right, and don't forget, Naz Reid. I think he was in the talk for 6th man of the year, and Naz Reid has not shown he didn't really play well in the last series, so he needs to step his game up.
No, and I actually think he's the biggest guy that needs to step his game up. He was great for this team, all year, but like this is where you make the money. You want to earn that, massive contract. This is where you make it. And Naz Reid has, let them down in game 1. Let's see how he bounces back here in game 2.
Yeah, facts. And look, Naz Reid is a terrific player, but you laid it out. When you're one of those star rotation players and you're becoming a free agent and you want that big deal, you make your name in the regular season. You make your money and your fame in the postseason. He should take a page from Neesmith and Nembhard. Those guys have earned themselves some money.
I completely forgot that the Pacers acquired Neesmith off a trade.
Yeah, wasn't he on the Celtics as a rookie?
Yeah, they got him in the Brogdon trade. What a steal for the Pacers that turned out to be.
Facts. By the way, I think Neesmith is actually a terrific 3-and-D guy. I'm surprised he didn't get more love to be on one of the defensive player. Look, there are a lot of really great defenders. The young man you mentioned from Portland, I'm not saying he's not deserving of recognition. I just don't think he should be on one of the All-NBA defensive teams. Not when we have great defenders that are actually playing in the postseason. Like, I can't have you on one of those teams and your team is selected in the lottery.
No, what's funny with Neesmith though? I don't think that man is terrific, but he'll never win a regular season award. He's like the perfect embodiment of a 16-game player. It is the funniest thing ever. Granted, his percent, he shot a great percentage in the regular season this year, but that's just a guy that, I feel like he'll never get that regular season recognition. But every year in the playoffs, it's going to be, where did Neesmith come from? Because this happened last year where he just popped off and then he had a really quiet regular season and now he's popping off again.
No, go ahead.
No, I say he might go down as arguably the greatest non-star postseason riser just in NBA history.
And he's going to get competition from his teammate because Nembhard is good through the regular season, but he doesn't shoot the 3-ball consistently during the regular season. But in the postseason, Nembhard shoots the cover off the ball. They both elevate their games when it matters most. And I'm with you. If they never get any kind of regular season accolades, if they build their name on what they do in the postseason, that has a lot more value.
Absolutely. It's how guys for example, Robert Horry built his value. Give me your favorite regular season Robert Horry moment. We really don't have that, but he has plenty of postseason moments.
I think he tried to choke Danny Ainge with a towel when he was in Phoenix. I'm not saying it's my favorite moment, but it's a standout moment.
Oh, you know what? That kind of might be my favorite moment now. That's just terrific.
But that was Phoenix Phoenix's fault. A really quick story. They traded for Robert Ory. They traded for Robert Ory because their staff was convinced that Robert Ory had a similar skill set to Scottie Pippen. And when Robert Ory got to Phoenix, they tried to make him a primary ball handler, and they quickly found out, like, yeah, he doesn't really handle the ball like that. Like he's nothing like Scottie Pippen. They have nothing in common. And they learned the hard way because what happened was Danny Ainge, he benched Robert Ory. He benched him and openly told him he was trying to trade him. And then Robert Ory snapped.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to be fair, if somebody just went, yeah, I'm trying to trade you, I'd probably snap too.
At least he was being honest.
Oh, yeah, it's just got to be frustrating to watch a team like completely like miscast you in a role that isn't suited to your strengths, and they'll be like, yeah, you're not good. We're trying to trade you. Like, what?
Yeah, that is crazy because it worked out better for Robert Ory, right? I mean, mind you, this happened after he left Houston. He ended up in Phoenix, but then he went from Phoenix, and he spent time with the Lakers, and obviously he was successful in a different role with the Lakers, and they have more success with the Spurs. So it isn't that he couldn't play; it's just that for whatever reason, their scouts, who by the way should have all been fired, that his skill set doesn't remotely resemble Scottie Pippen, so I don't know what that was.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, not okay. I say swing that Nas. Corner 3, Alexander Walker. That's good. Say, Minnesota's bench already looking a lot better than last game.
Yeah, well, the bar was really low.
Yeah.
The bar was really low.
I hate the small lineup against the Thunder. It just doesn't work. I'm not
that won't work because Chet is not a traditional 5, and he doesn't move like a 5. And you can't guard him the way you would guard a traditional 5.
No, and that just seems to be the problem right now. They're trying to go small, but Chet's just like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the rim. There's nobody on the court right now that can bother me taking it up strong. And it's just leading to him shooting free throw after free throw.
And that's another part of his game that's underrated. Chet can put the ball on the floor and attack you.
It's just wild to me how the Thunder have like 27 guys on their bench that would be like starters on half the teams in the league.
I completely agree. I think Casey Wallace or Wiggins could both be starters.
Yeah, say Wallace, Wiggins. If the young kid that they drafted who just was out with injury for most of the year, Nikola Topic develops, I think he has starter potential. Caruso, we know, can be a starter.
Proven it, yes.
Like, obviously, iHeart, like, it's just they just have such a great eye for talent, and it's just completely showing in games like Game 1 where the bench is just absolutely wrecking the Wolves.
Sam Presti has an amazing eye for talent. And the crazy part is this Thunder team could be in the finals, could win it all, and they still got 1 trillion picks.
Oh, absolutely. I will always love Ant watching him do that. Like, and if it's a wide open layup, I'm like more concerned of him missing it than like a contested one. He's like the J.R. Smith of layups. The more contested it in, the more confident I am.
I was gonna say he needs to feel somebody touching him when he attacks the basket.
That's a good look, and that's just an unfortunate rim out right there.
I like it that they're trying to keep him off the ball more, but I don't want Naz Reid dribbling the ball a lot.
No, absolutely. This is not the defense to be trying to have Naz put the ball on the floor. Say good start for the
He
good
just
start
got
for the quarter.
he got away with a brutal elbow. Wow.
I still don't know why they took this long to announce the MVP. Like, we knew who won it for like weeks now, but they decided to wait until like it's like they wanted to be nice and wait for the series to be over.
Yeah,
Like, nah, you know what I would have done? I would have announced it Game 7. By the way, SGA MVP. Let's motivate Jokic. Because didn't that I think that happened what was it in the 90s? I think it was when
Elijah won and David Robinson.
Yeah, it's like Hakeem and David Robinson's MVP where they announced it for David.
Yeah.
And then Hakeem just absolutely just cooks him.
Yeah.
And didn't he say something after one of the games like, I'm going to be over later to collect my award?
He said something like he's going to let David hold it until after the season or something like that. I was like, that was wild. Yeah, look, and David's a great player, but man, they did not do him any favors by doing a big ceremony like right before they played the Rockets. Like, that was crazy.
No, I would have honestly. I love that. Honestly, anytime two MVP candidates would, like, I would do the same thing because, like, I feel like you get the best out of, like, both players, right? Like now, like SGA would feel like I have to defend this, and Jokic would be like, "Hey, wait a minute, hold on, I'm going to show you why I should have been the MVP." But in all reality, I don't think there's anything more Jokic could have done in that Game 7.
It was a tough loss. I thought they did the best they could. And let's not forget, his second most reliable player, Aaron Gordon, was gimpy. He wasn't even 100%. And between the two teams, the Denver just doesn't have the firepower that OKC has.
Yeah, and like when it came down to it, like MPJ, he's apparently been dealing with like a shoulder injury. Jamal Murray ill. So, you're just looking at it like if Denver wanted to win that game, they pretty much had to blow out OKC early and demoralize them and hope that they're missing shots. But the funny play that like woke OKC up was when they went down 11 because it was Aaron Gordon on one leg beating them on a backdoor cut to get an and one. And I remember even just going in the chat immediately like, did Aaron Gordon just beat the Thunder defense on an and one?
Right.
There's no way that should have happened. And then, but it's almost like that's what needed to happen because that's when the Thunder were like, oh, these guys aren't going to like roll over. Okay, we got to take this game seriously now. Say, I'll give Aaron Gordon credit, though. That was like retire that man's jersey level performance that he gave on a hamstring strain.
He was a gamer. I just wish a couple of his teammates had the same mental toughness that he had. But, it wasn't meant to be. We're always talking about how this coming off season, there's going to be a lot of changes. I have to believe that the new GM for the Nuggets, his mandate is to go out and add some bench depth.
Yeah, I think MPJ's probably on the move, or they're going to shop him out for sure. Jamal Murray's tougher because you need somebody that can kind of create their own shot as the Wolves defense forces a turnover. Nas 3 off. But Jamal Murray just feels such a need for them. I'm not sure if they look to ship him out because they do need somebody that can create their own look.
I agree with that, but I would not rule out moving Jamal Murray. Matter of fact, I would look at a team like the Nets, and they have a lot of the pieces that the Nuggets need. And look, there's nobody on there that's like Jamal Murray, but I will say this. What is his name? Cam? Is it Cam?
Oh, Cam Thomas.
Cam Thomas is instant offense. I'm not saying he's a star, but could he give you 18 to 20 a night? Yeah, he can get his own shot. He's explosive. I'm just saying that the Nets are one of those teams. They have a lot of really good players. They just don't have that guy. But look, if you give them Jamal Murray and you can get Cam Thomas and maybe a Nicholas Claxton or somebody like that, because they don't have a good backup center. Nicholas Claxton is tremendous, especially at getting up and down the floor.
That would be the centerpiece of the trade right there, Nick Claxton. It almost feels like kind of part of the problem a lot of the times with Denver too in the postseason that seems to happen. Is just like Jokic getting fatigued because he does have to play like 45 minutes a night because when your only backup center option is, hey, we should throw DeAndre Jordan out there.
Right.
He's like,
right.
yeah, Jokic. Jokic playing with absolutely no energy is just a better option than that.
And let's be real. DeAndre Jordan is in the he's in that stage of his career where he's more of a locker room mentor than he is an impactful player on the court.
Yeah, I think DeAndre Jordan should, he's one of those guys that I think he just seems to be such a good presence in the locker room that he should absolutely have a contract in the league somewhere. He just shouldn't be relied on to play like real playoff minutes or just real NBA minutes at this point.
Right. He's to Denver what Udonis Haslem was to the Heat late in his career.
Absolutely. Uh-oh. Here we go. Momentum shifting back to the Wolves. Dante, that's good. Here we go. How do the Thunder think you got to get Shea back in here?
Yeah, they got to get Shea back in there to calm him down. And J-Dub's gonna be aggressive but smart with the ball.
Okay. Oh, J-Dub post fade.
There it is.
Knocked a couple of those down now this quarter. Are we gonna? Don't do this. Don't.
See what he's doing? He does too much, and he doesn't even have a handle like that. Don't do that.
Okay. Well, Dante misses the three. I thought they were really going to try to run a Naz Reid post up on with Chet being the defender. I'm like, please don't. Good hit, Chet.
And Naz, the funny thing is, Naz Reid don't even have a post game. He don't have a post game.
He has like a post game if there's a smaller defender on him. But
well, yeah, sure, he can take advantage over smaller guys, but that's like Porzingis. Porzingis doesn't have a post game. He can just shoot over top of smaller guys, but he didn't have a post game.
Say, good hit by Walker.
I really feel like this could be the year that J-Dub comes up big in the postseason. I think he's talented enough to be a 1, but I think he could be a star as a 2. I'm not convinced he can be the guy, but I know for sure he can be the guy beside the guy.
This has definitely already been his best postseason work so far. He's had a couple of stinkers. Obviously, that game 6 against Denver wasn't pretty, but 38-point game, and then he did well in game 7, and he did great to start out this series. So,
and what he's done well the entire postseason, Brett, he's been terrific on defense. His offense has been streaky, but defensively, he's been a monster.
Say good job on Julius Randle. Caruso is strong and stocky, but Randle goes, "Hey, I'm bigger than you," and just takes him right down low and goes right over the top.
That was bully ball against a really strong guy. Yeah.
I like what Chet's been doing this game. I think Chet's at his best when he is aggressive, getting downhill too. I think a lot of your bad Chet games is when he settles and doesn't realize that he moves like a small forward a lot of the time. Like this game, he sees like Naz Reid is out there, and he's just like, barbecue chicken, and he's just getting downhill. And once he sees a couple of those shots go down, now it really opens up his 3 ball.
Yeah, I want my Chet Holmgren putting the ball on the floor and attacking people because it's a big part of his game that he doesn't use enough.
Yeah, it's almost like you want him being polar opposite depending on the matchup. Like, if Rudy's out there, just shoot the ball, stretch that floor as much as you can, unless you can get him off balance, then take him off the dribble. If it's not, just get downhill.
Let me ask you a question. Between the 2 players, I'm not even talking about a hypothetical Milwaukee trade. I'm simply talking about the 2 players. Who do you value more going forward, Chet or J-Dub?
I think the answer. I think it's Chet. I think a healthy Chet is not only is he going to challenge Wemby every year for DPOY. I think he's already kind of shown that he can shoot, he can put the ball on the floor, finish around the rim. If he continues to add to that mid range and post game, I think Chet could very well emerge to end up being like a top 15 or 20 player in the league. Also, I think J-Dub has a high potential, but I think Chet's mobility and rim protection mixed with his, floor spacing ability it's just so tough to beat that.
By the way, it just hit me. We were talking about the all NBA defensive team. I mean, Chet could have been on there too.
I think Chet just missed it because he missed quite a few.
Oh, that's right. He did not. They do have that. You got to play 65 games. Yeah, he didn't play 65 games. All right, I got you. I like the team. I think some of the guys. There's a couple of guys that shouldn't be on there, but it is what it is.
No, absolutely. That's fair enough. What a great start to this game. Like I said, this is already going much better than game one for the Wolves, just for the sole factor that the bench is doing well. They're hitting their shots.
I agree with you. I think clearly they're playing better and the bench is playing better. But if my bench is playing better and I'm getting everything I need from them and the score is what it is, I'd still be a little concerned because I don't even think Oklahoma City's playing that well.
No, that just kind of just shows how crazy Oklahoma City is, right? Like,
right. That's what I mean. I'm praising the T-Wolves bench for coming to life and being big time contributors so far in this game, and at the same time, I don't even think the Thunder's bench have really stepped it up, or the starters. I think they're kind of coasting, but you know how Oklahoma City plays. They play great, but they also hit you with these 15-3 or 13-5 runs, and you look up and go, "We were just tied, and now we're down 15."
Oh, absolutely. Oh, J-Dub with the 3. That's off. But a good board by Wallace. Oh, Case and Wallace with the blow by. Oh, that was a good call by Wallace. Mike Conley, he's a game defender. He tries, but a little too old to keep up with somebody like Wallace. Too much of a speed advantage there.
Yeah, Mike Conley is not as quick as he once was, obviously, because he used to be a perennial All-NBA defender.
Absolutely. See, Dante with the lazy entry pass leading to a Shea steal.
Yeah.
Got to take care of the basketball.
So somebody tried to make a wild comparison and say that they said DiVincenzo was very similar to Manu Ginobili, and I was like, yeah, I don't see it.
No.
I mean, if you want to say he's similar in this way, when Ginobili kind of has those games where he's a little wild and out of control, yeah, I guess that's what they have in common. But other than that, if he was Manu Ginobili like, this would be a lot closer game, a closer series. Like that's what's missing for the Timberwolves. They would love to have a Ginobili.
Yeah, if they had if he was like Manu Ginobili level good, like that would be troublesome because I also just think people underrate how good Manu Ginobili is.
On both sides of the floor, defensively, offensively, as a playmaker, as a scorer. Yeah. I look, and I'm not downing on Dante DiVincenzo because I like his game, but I think he's very streaky as an offensive player. He that's the best way I can put it. He's not somebody that I can go, yeah, I know for sure that Dante is going to give me 12 points tonight. I don't know from night to night because he's just a very streaky offensive player.
No, absolutely. And that's and
they're trying to say Julius Randle killed him? Come on, man. Come on. What? I thought that was come on.
And I think a big thing with when it comes to someone like Manu is just the way that he could ramp up his scoring volume when needed. Like Dante cannot replicate that. When Timmy had left the floor, Manu could still carry the offense perfectly fine.
I agree.
He's the closest thing you've seen to a superstar caliber player that wasn't a starter.
The great thing about Ginobili was he gave them whatever they needed from series to series.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too. One of those things. He gave so much effort on both ends of the floor as Mike Conley misses a three. Yeah, he gave so much effort on both ends of the floor. That was almost one of the reasons that he couldn't play. He didn't play heavy minutes.
Right.
Was just he would come in for shorter bursts than your average superstar level player. But he would come in and they would blow out the other team's bench unit, and then he would just go right back to the bench. But in the closing lineup, you knew who was going to be there.
Oh, yeah, no question.
All right, here we go. Couple turnovers, couple missed shots, and OKC back up for.
So this is the part where they gotta. If you're the Timberwolves, you have to find a way to stay connected because it's a close game now. But you know what OKC does? They push to try to go up by double digits before the half. The Timberwolves have to find a way to generate offense.
Yeah, no, this feels like it could be a start of one of those patent OKC avalanches.
Yeah.
And the Timberwolves absolutely have to make sure that's not what happens. Good defense by Ant. Uh-oh, don't let him. Okay. Great move there by McDaniels. Great body control to slow himself up to throw off the shot block.
That was amazing that he was able to decelerate like that. That was nice.
Say Caruso with maybe the nice little floater there. Here we go. How do they respond?
However they respond, please don't just settle for a 3-pointer. Get something going towards the basket. Get something going towards the basket.
You know what? That works. That was a good response. And you know what? That started by getting the action towards the basket. Get that interior pass, collapse the defense, and the ball ended up finding Ant for the open three. Okay, can somebody step up and at least make Caruso think about it?
So we're gonna guard Caruso the way that the Knicks guarded Neesmith. Just let him shoot like that. I mean, he's getting in that little pocket over and over, and nobody's even going up to contest the shot. That's crazy.
They're giving him the Ben Simmons defense. We're not even gonna look at him when he catches the ball right there. McDaniels, good block.
That's great. That's great defense.
Corner. Look at the corner. Never mind. No, look at the corner. Nobody's on Mike Conley.
Had he swung it to McDaniels, he could have swung it to Conley really quick.
Oh my goodness.
And now you're just getting iso ball, and yeah, that's terrible. You're gonna foul him.
Right, all right, here we go. Good take by Ann.
Go hard.
I got so mad watching that. Look at the corner. Look. Will the Wolves play a full 48 minutes tonight? That's been their problem at times. They go through stretches where they don't play hard. Yeah, listen, they're clearly, loading up on, drives under the paint. So that corner pocket's going to be wide open. It's been open a couple times.
It was open a lot in game one. They generated, I'm talking about the Timberwolves, they generated 46 open shots. And they shot 28% from those open shots. You're not going to win a game shooting like that.
Oh, absolutely. Because they're even seemingly putting a couple guys on Rudy, like on that last possession. Things were opened up too because there were two guys on Rudy on the low block, and it just left Mike Conley like wide open. Which, to be fair, I think that's actually a fair thing to do. Rudy might not have the greatest hands, not the biggest offensive threat at times, but he's absolutely a threat on the boards where a lot of guys cannot check him one-on-one. So sometimes you do. It's probably smart if you can pull it off to just put an extra body on him for rebounding purposes.
Oh, for sure. Look, I guarantee you one of those guys is blocking out. The other guy is almost face guarding Rudy Gobert.
Right. We saw what happened, especially like in the Lakers series in that elimination game. What happens when you try to, box Rudy out and grab a rebound with only one? He just eats that up alive most of the time. What kind of voodoo magic are the Pacers doing, man?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think the Knicks have to find a way, too, to get out of drop coverage at times. They can't just run the same drop coverage all game because the Pacers, clearly at the end of the game, they had it figured out. It's pretty much just bring Cat and, Mitchell Robinson up in the action and let the shooter just shoot a three off of like a pin down.
Right. But look, when Rick Carlisle goes extra small and he makes Toppin his center, instantaneously, Thibodeau's got to match that. You got to get Mitchell Robinson off the floor because now everybody in Indiana's lineup can shoot the three, and you're putting Mitchell Robinson in a situation where you're setting him up to fail. He can't really play that far away from the basket, and you can't play drop coverage when everybody's a shooting threat.
Running drop coverage against them is a death trap. Tibbs should have taken notes from the Bucks running drop coverage against Indy. Absolutely. And if you're the Knicks, you have an added advantage, too, going small with Josh Hart to help make up for some of that rebounding. Because that's normally your big problem with going small is the rebounding takes a hit. But when you're the Knicks and you have a tenacious rebounder in the name of Josh Hart mixed in with, if you want to run OG or McHale or whatever you're trying to do at center, like that, makes up for a lot of your rebounding problems because if the tallest guy out there is like 6'8", Obi Toppin, chances are he's not going to out-rebound Josh Hart most of the time.
As soon as Toppin hit the floor, he should have altered the lineup and put OG at center.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, what's funny? I can't even blame Rudy for not stepping up to Caruso there. That cannot be Rudy doing it. Because as soon as Rudy step up, he's just dropping that right down to Hartenstein for an easy dunk. So
right.
Rudy's I think I need to see Jaden slide over because Rudy's just in an impossible position right there. So at that point, yeah, I'm taking a chance on a 10-foot Alex Caruso jumper than an I Heart dunk. Oh. You know what, Mo, when we're talking about like the greatest like iconic signature shots in history, man, iHeart's push shot just might be on its way. Like, I swear when they don't contest it, he shoots 100% on that.
It doesn't look pretty, but he's very effective.
No, absolutely. He's so precise with it. It's insane what I heard. All the damage that he does in that little short mid-range area is great. Good. Unfortunate. Yeah, great process, just unfortunate rim out.
Right.
Skip that to Good board by Dort.
Okay.
There we go. Good hit, SGA. Just watching these remaining teams. Is Indy the most clutch team left? I think they are. I think Jalen Brunson, I think he's still the, it doesn't matter. Not going to let that last minute define him. I think Jalen Brunson's still like the most clutch player left in these playoffs. But I think the most clutch team as a whole is just the Indiana Pacers. They've shown it time and time again.
I think they've had a lot of clutch moments, and they're a terrific run. It's an interesting question. You could call them the most clutch team, but I don't think they're the best team remaining. But yeah, you want to call them the most clutch because they're the most clutch team right now today. They're up 1-0 in the series. But if they end up losing this series, that goes out the window. So I don't know. I know that they just won the craziest game I've ever seen. And somebody said that now you got to watch Neesmith. I'm like, I'm sure they do, but I'm sure that in there when they were doing their scouting report, I'm sure they weren't like, well, we're not going to worry about Halliburton. Who we really need to watch is Neesmith. I'm sure that wasn't a plan. Games kind of take on their own personalities. I think Neesmith is terrific. Do I think he's going to make that many threes again? I don't, but you never know. You know what I mean? Like, what I will say about Indiana is if he doesn't make that many, that just means maybe Nembhard or Turner will, right? Because that's how they kind of play. They do it by committee.
Say, what's going on, Jory? Glad you can join us. You know what's funny, Mo? Like, it's so weird with SGA and his whole, like, free throw merchant, like, sort of talk. Because he, like, shoots less free throws than a lot of our previous MVPs have. But just the way, I think it's just the way he goes about them that just throws everybody off. Because, like, it's funny because he only averaged, like, 8 free throws a game this year, which is less than, some other guys. But Thunder fans are trying to point it out. Like, see, he shoots less than other, like, 30-a-game scorers and past MVPs. But do you think it's just the process and the way he goes about it? That's what people hate and just throw off?
I think it's the process. But look, the funny thing is, I talked about this on the morning show. He took 10 free throw shots per game last year when he was an MVP candidate. And I don't remember anybody talking about he was a foul merchant. So this year he's actually taking less. And I don't have a problem with him the same way I don't have a problem with Trae Young, Luka, James Harden, for that matter, Brunson. It's not like they're cheating or doing something illegal. These guys are clever scorers who can manipulate contact in a way that a lot of guys can't. My only problem with SGA is he works a little harder at it than everybody else because he spends a lot of time on the floor, man. Like, and no one's pushing him to the floor. He just spends a lot of time on the floor. And what I don't like about this era of basketball is you're supposed to have a finite set of rules the way the game is supposed to be played. And I feel like the referees are still picking and choosing what they call because you're not supposed to be able to extend your arm or your forearm, but they let guys get away with that a lot on a regular basis. I mean, on a regular basis. Like if they called every time an offensive player shivered your skin, games will last 4.5 hours. And I say that to say that SGA gets away with using that left arm like a stiff arm routinely. Like, he's not physically stronger than Anthony Edwards. But when you hit Anthony Edwards with that shiver because of the momentum, it gives you an advantage. And in this era, the way everything favors offense, if you're the defensive player and you react to the shiver, as soon as you react, the foul's going to be on you, even if you didn't initiate the contact.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, the way he does it is the refs are just so quick to call it too, and that is the frustrating part too. Like all of this can be dissuaded, this whole free throw thing, if the refs would just
just call it the same way.
Right.
Call it the same way.
got distracted by that Anthony Edwards finish. But yeah, if they would call it the same way, it would be perfectly fine. But now, like, I'm like fretting at this idea of a possible like Knicks Thunder finals because we get Brunson and SGA, two people who get the most like friendly whistle in the league, about to possibly duel.
So those finals games are going to go like what, 4.5 hours? Because remember, what those two guys do, yes, they get to the free throw line a lot, but they get you in the penalty so their teammates can benefit from it too.
Yeah, it's just going to be straight up. Like, I'm going to tune into the game an hour later. Like, all right, it's still 6 minutes left in the first. Excellent.
And so like I said, when people go like, oh, you're hating, I'm not hating. I'm just pointing out, I want the referees to call the game the same way. Every game, call it the same way. I don't actually believe in, well, we call the game the way we do in the regular season, and then we call the game we do. I don't believe in that either. Just call the game. However you agreed on how the game's supposed to be called, call the game that way. I'm cool with them allowing a little bit more physicality, but for whatever reason, that still seems to work against the defense more than the offense.
Oof. Hopefully the Wolves better going to stop here. I don't want to go into the breakdown like 8 or 9 against the Thunder.
They hit you. They hit you with these little small runs, and before you know it, a close game is a 9 or 12-point game. They're the best at it.
Look at Stephen A. getting his makeup done in the background.
Hey, Mike Malone's got a job. That's good.
Will I get to see Big Perk talk about
I don't want to hear him talk no more about how he locked people down. I can't take another story about how he locked people down.
I'm guessing you saw his comments about the 2012 playoff run.
I saw that. You know what he doesn't talk about? He doesn't talk about who he locked down in the finals that year. Do you know why? Because he was the guy they picked on in the finals.
Dude, my favorite part is like, he brought up Dirk. Like, I locked up Dirk. I'm like, didn't Dirk average like 26 and 9? Like,
right.
Who?
Right.
Like, Dirk, who? Like, it wasn't Nowitzki.
And Chris Bosh didn't have like gaudy numbers in that series, but because Chris Bosh took Perk outside and he took him out of the paint, he couldn't guard him. And Perk was useless on defense versus the Heat. They played him off the floor a lot of times. Look, this idea that suddenly like we're misremembering Kendrick Perkins and he should be remembered as one of the top defenders of all time. Like, no, he shouldn't.
Yeah, he locked up Dirk, Powell, Andrew Bynum, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu. Like, what? You didn't even guard half those guys.
I did. I will give him this. And the first time around when the Celtics played the Lakers in the 08 final, I think it's the 08 finals, he did lock up Powell, but the NBA allowed a lot more contact back then. Like, he was giving Pau Gasol a massage, shiatsu, and all kind of other stuff, and it was legal. So he did do that. I'll give him credit for that. He also massaged up D12 real good. I'll give him credit for that. But he was a good, solid role player / defender. I don't know why he wants to talk about himself like he was another version of Bill Russell or somebody like that. I don't get it. He's not Ben Wallace or Tim Duncan. He's not even Rasheed Wallace. Like, Perk is a wild dude.
You know what's wild about this game? Just went to halftime. This feels like Minnesota's definitely playing their best basketball so far. Granted, game 1 set a low bar. Still down 8. OKC's shooting 20% from 3. Still down 8.
That's my whole point. That's what I fear. That's what myself and the NFL Genius Gene talked about on the morning show this morning, that Anthony Edwards can't play good. Julius Randle can play good, but Anthony Edwards can't play good. He has to be great. He has to be special, or they're going to get swept. And he's been pretty good, but he hasn't been great.
Do y'all think the Luka hate has gone way overboard? I'm seeing people put Ant, Hallie, and Brunson over him now. Yes,
I'm not doing that. I have my own. I'm obviously the Lakers are my favorite team. I've got my own, I guess, issues with Luka, but I wouldn't. I'm not putting Hallie over him based off of what he's doing. Brunson is different. I'm not saying Brunson's better than Luka, but I do think that what people forget about what Luka is, he's not easy to play with, man. He's not. He has a very unique playing style. Well, I shouldn't say it's unique. It's very familiar. He just does it in a different way. Luka plays just like James Harden. He just plays that way more efficient than James Harden. But they play the same game. By the way, they play the same on both ends of the floor too.
No, Bill Russell copied Perk style. Don't worry about the timeline.
Okay, I can go with that. Maybe Perk has access to a DeLorean. I got you.
Perk will tell you that he's the greatest center storyteller that nobody ever asked for.
That's
Mike
facts.
Malone working at Wendy's flipping burgers.
That's cold, Damien. That's cold, man. Come on. That's cold.
He loves the rewrite. Yeah. And that's my favorite part too. Kind of what Jory alludes to right here. Like, one, we're old enough to remember, like, Perk, we watched you play in 2012. And two, it's not like Kendrick Perkins footage is locked away in a vault like the Wilt Chamberlain 100-point game. Like, I can go watch Kendrick Perkins play basketball like right now if I really want to. I just refuse to go out of my way to watch Kendrick Perkins play basketball because I don't really want to do that.
I'm going to say, why would you subject yourself to that?
I'm not watching him get like the opening game post up and then brick that and then set up like 3 illegal screens along the way. Like,
Perk is wild. He's a wild dude. He was a good role player. I'm going to give him credit for that. He was a good role player, but he's not a good role player in the sense that he won 5 championships. He was a good role player and he won 1 championship. Like, he's not on the same level as a Mario Elie or a Robert Horry or a Derek Fisher or someone of that nature. He's, you know what I mean? When they go all-time great role players, he's not in the conversation.
No, that's fair enough. I've seen mixed. 7 of 18 from the field for Ant. He's got to be a lot better than that. My question for you, Mo, because I've seen people go back and forth on this one. Parity. Some people say it's good. We're seeing different teams with chance to win titles. Some people say it's bad. We kind of miss, the dynasties, the franchise, like the dynasty runs. So I guess my question to you, Mo, is what do you think about this new age parity? Because we're about to have a new champion for the 7th year in a row.
I don't mind the parity because I'm a basketball junkie and I'm still going to enjoy the basketball. What I will say is the parity is gonna last as long as it lasts. But you and I both know at some point there's going to be a franchise that jumps up and separates itself from everybody else, and they're going to win 2 of the next 3 or 3 of the next 5, and they're going to be that franchise. It's going to happen. And I love the NBA when it's like that too. When there's a team out there that nobody seems to be able to beat, and they're constantly in the finals and they're winning titles, and you're rooting against them, I think that's great for the league too. That like the idea that I think you can have both, but this parity run, I think that's just what it is. Like, the parity run is we talk about it now, but the Celtics were the best team all through the regular season. I think you and I would both agree we thought the Celtics were going to be back in the finals, right? We did.
Mhm.
Now it didn't play out that way, and that's okay. That's the beauty of sports. That kind of stuff happens. But do I think a good example is, do I think Boston, Brett, or let me ask you, they're going to be different, but they also have the second best GM in basketball to me in Brad Stevens, or president of operator, whatever you want to call him. He wears both hats. I don't think Boston's done. I think we can call it a break, if you will. But do I think if Jason Tatum comes back in 2026 and he's fully healthy, that they won't be ready to be a contender instantly? I do. I think Brad Stevens will make all the moves necessary to set Tatum and Brown up for success going forward. Although, being how I am, outside the box, would you put a wrinkle in what I just said and said, or let me ask you this. Is Jaylen Brown untouchable?
No. I wouldn't say he's untouchable, but like I wouldn't make him available for anything less than like a superstar level player or a star that.
But I guess that's my question. I love Jaylen Brown, but I don't think he's a superstar. So if my asking price is, well, I want a superstar in return, you're not going to get him. Like Jaylen Brown himself isn't a superstar. Like if I'm going to give you a superstar, it must be like one of those broken superstars, if you want to call him that, because I don't think Zion's a superstar, but I can't give you a superstar for Jaylen Brown when we both know he's not a superstar. I think that Jaylen Brown could be the best player on a team that could make the playoffs. I don't think he could be the best player on a team that's going to be a dominant force and be a perennial contender. But a team like New Jersey that's looking for some credibility, especially when you see what the Knicks are doing, would they value Jaylen Brown being their best player if they had to give up, let's say, Cameron Johnson and Nick Claxton for Jaylen Brown? Would they consider that?
I know I would consider it. I'd say I think it would cost a pretty penny to pry Jaylen Brown away from that team, but
yeah, I'm not saying it's going to happen. Yeah,
But
that's all I'm saying. I'm saying this. Remember, I'm not saying Brad Stevens would trade Jaylen Brown, but I am saying, remember, Brett, they're getting ready to be officially under new ownership. So if new ownership comes in there and goes, so Tatum's not coming back until 2026. And we can all agree we're not a title contender, right? Correct. And Brown makes $300 million. And we can also agree that as good as he is, not a superstar, correct? Yes. And we need to cut salary. We do. So why can't we make moves ahead of time to set Tatum up for success in the future? Cam Thomas or Cam Johnson, he's not Jaylen Brown. But as a 3-and-D forward, you're talking about a guy that gives you 16 and 7, plays elite defense, shoots the ball well. Nicholas Claxton, I think he would be a perfect, not just replacement for Al Horford, but he'd probably be a starter because of his athleticism and his youth. Remember, whatever iteration Tatum comes back to, it's not going to closely resemble what they look like today. That's all I'm saying. We have to think about Jason Tatum in terms of, what are they going to be next season? No, what are they going to be in 2026?
oh yeah, no, that's fair enough. Like I said, it'll be interesting. I definitely think that it's not off the table, and I think a trade like that would be really interesting to think about. Because if you could bring in even a couple more quality depth pieces, like I wouldn't be mad at it. Like if they did somehow come out back with like Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton, like I definitely wouldn't be mad at it. So
look, and this is not me saying it's going to happen. I just want to put out on the table that what Brad Stevens doesn't own the Celtics. He's an employee like everybody else. I guarantee you, Brad Stevens loves Tatum and Brown. Those are his guys. He loves them. Loves them. But if the new owner comes in and go, Brad, I hear what you're saying. These are your guys. I need you to pick and choose. You can keep one of them, but the other one's got to go. Even though Tatum is coming off an injury, my guess is it would be Jaylen Brown.
I would absolutely picking between the two. Yeah, no doubt about it for me. Who are some guys Denver should target in free agency? You know what's funny? I think there's a couple guys that they could look at from this game. Denver's going to be a team that doesn't have a lot of money, so they're going to be limited in who they can target. And I think one guy who could maybe fit the bill for them, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, could give them some good wing depth and knock down a couple threes for them. Because, like, it's fun to say, like, it'd be great to say, like, yeah, they should go get, maybe they can go get one of the bigger name free agents. But unless they're going to, move one of their core guys, they don't really have the money to be doing that.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem they're in now. They have so much tied up into that starting five, and they have an owner that doesn't want the GM or them to be anywhere near the second apron. They can only spend so much money, and I think they could afford a guy like Nickeil Alexander-Walker if he's interested in going. Because first of all, he got to be interested in going there. He might not be interested, but yeah, I think you have to target guys like him who can help you, who can give you depth, and he's still a young player. I think he would be a great fit for them. I was going to say Naz Reid could help them, but I think he's too pricey for them.
I think another guy who could help them, a reunion with Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown's coming off some injuries and down years, so I think you could get him for cheap enough.
Yeah, I agree. If I'm Denver and I've got anybody that still has a relationship with Bruce Brown, I'm reaching out to him right now. Like, we had a lot of success together. Let's agree on this. Since we parted, nobody's had the same success because Bruce Brown was like a star rotation player, and then he went to Indiana. That didn't work. He went to the Raptors. He's constantly injured, and he's not really played his best basketball. I think maybe going back to Denver would be good for he and the Nuggets.
So I think with the bigger name like the bigger contracts you have, you're only going to get like all-star caliber players, like kind of fringe, like flawed stars in return. For example, like MPJ, if you add an asset or two, you might be able to get like a Zach LaVine. But I don't think there's really anybody past that like tier of player that you're going to get for some of these bigger contracts. Because like after watching how they did in the playoffs, who's really going to be knocking down the door trying to trade their star to get their hands on MPJ? With how inconsistent he's been, who's really going to be knocking down the door to get their hands on Jamal Murray right now? Like, I think they have a market, but right now trading Jamal Murray would be selling low. And Porter Jr., I don't know if you can get anybody better than like a Zach LaVine.
I agree with every point you made. My only question is Zach LaVine is he's one of the enigmas of the NBA universe. Everything about Zach LaVine says star. And if you are ranking players on just their talent, I think Zach LaVine's a top 10 talent. I'm just talking about talent. But how he applies his talent and what he does with it, completely different thing. Like would Zach LaVine be an upgrade from Michael Porter Jr.? Yeah, he's just a more talented player. But would he be a better fit for Denver? Because remember, Porter Jr. is a 6'9" catch and shoot guy. Zach LaVine goes about 6'4", 6'5", and he's a 2. Like, to me, if you're bringing in Zach LaVine, are you bringing in Zach LaVine to pair him with Murray? Which I don't even know if that works because their skill sets are similar. The difference is Jamal Murray has played big money minutes in the postseason and come up big in the postseason. Zach LaVine has played next to no time in his career in the postseason. And so he's very similar to Bradley Beal. We don't know what he does in the postseason because you don't spend a lot of time in the postseason. Like, I don't know what you do with a player like Zach LaVine. I know the talent. I guess my question to you is this. If you were Denver, would you even be remotely interested in Zach LaVine? Or would you be like, nah, he's not quite what we're looking for? Because he's so, I don't know how to explain it. He's an enigma. He's incredibly talented. Like, here's a good example. Zach LaVine is more talented than Jaylen Brown. And it's not close. But nobody's going to take Zach LaVine over Jaylen Brown.
I think Denver's one of those spots where I think I would. I think if there's a player and team that could not only, obviously he can shoot the three, but I think if there's a team or a player that can maybe motivate him to maybe re-unlock that high flying ability we know he has, it's Denver. He can play off Jokic, cut to the lane. Like, I think playing with Jokic might be just enough for him to, really get to his full potential offensively. So if I were, because I watched Jokic help, let's be real, Jokic was a big part in Russell Westbrook having a very good year this year, especially for, expectations. I think you pair someone like LaVine with Jokic, I think you're going to have problems schematically on the defensive end. That'll be an issue. But I think offensively, I think Jokic and LaVine would actually be kind of fun to watch.
LaVine is an amazing talent, and maybe I should have prefaced the question with not that you wouldn't want him, but I guess on Denver, he might be in his perfect role. Like on Denver, I think LaVine is a third option, right? Yeah. I think that's where he should be, though. I don't care what his talent is, but I'm talking about in terms of what he does on the floor. I think Zach LaVine would be a terrific third option.
Oh, yeah. And say Jokic to LaVine lobs would be ESPN highlight reel #1 every night.
And don't forget, you get LaVine, I guess maybe in practice, him and Aaron Gordon can go at it on the dunk contest, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be kind of fun, too. But no, in all honesty, Zach LaVine would be somebody that the Nuggets could use because, yes, Joker's a tremendous playmaker, but Zach LaVine actually gives you another guy that can give you 5 or 6 assists a game. He can actually be a playmaker at different times of the game. I'm not one of those people that are down on him. I just think that he's better in a certain role that he's never had the opportunity to play. Like everywhere he's been, they've either tried to make him the guy or the number 2. I think in Denver, he would finally get the perfect role to go with his skill set.
It's so crazy how the Kings have had both oh my gosh, Rudy, what the flip was that? It's so crazy how the Kings had 2 top 10 point guards in the league at the same time, and they flipped them to reunite the 2023 Bulls.
How does that happen?
To me.
How does it? And then people ask me with a straight face, why do you always say bad franchises find ways to say bad franchises? You look at what the Kings have done. You had Fox and Halliburton, and you found a way to turn them into Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. That's amazing.
It's funny because I still when they first made the trade, I didn't mind the move for both sides, the whole Halliburton for Sabonis thing. Right. But it's really the Fox one when they signed DeMar and they're like, yeah, you know what? We're going to trade for Zach LaVine. Didn't the Bulls just do this in the East for the last 3 years? DeMar, Zach, and a offensive-minded center? What?
Right. They had Nick. Right. And that didn't work. If your 3 best players are all volume scorers and none of them play defense, what do you think's going to happen?
Oh, Shea left that short. Somebody's got to help Rudy out on these boards. Because now the Thunder are just aggressively crashing.
They cannot let them get any more separation or this game's going to be over. Ant's got to stop dribbling so much. Make a quick decision. Catch the ball and either straight line drive or swing the ball. And Rudy's got to stop doing that kind of stuff. Don't do that.
Let's see. Here we go. I think it. Oof. Good job, Rudy. Come on. Oh, he drew the foul. Good job, Rudy.
Yeah, he got the foul call.
It feels like Ant's just forcing it right now. You have to trust your team. Your teammates are hitting shots this game. The only one who's not hitting shots right now is you. I think he's just got to trust his teammates more on some of these.
No, and normally I say he's got to be great. Well, you can be great in other ways. What if this were a game where Anthony Edwards ends up with 11 or 12 assists? That's not a bad thing.
Right. To me, this is the games like this are what separate Anthony Edwards for me from being a true high tier like offensive engine, like a Jokic, like a
Yeah.
Luka, like
Yeah.
even. And this might sound crazy to some, but I think in terms of just overall running an offense, I think even like a Halliburton is better than Ant in the regards of they know when to crank up the aggression, but they also trust their teammates and they know how to get the whole team going.
No,
I think that's what Ant has to work on is just how do you get the whole team involved?
I'm glad you put it that way. Yeah, there's no question Halliburton is better at running his team and keeping his teammates involved because that's really important that you keep your teammates engaged because when you do that, it makes them play harder for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what a lot of great offensive engines do. And I think that's just a lot of the times will just tunnel vision his way to in some games like this one. And it really hurts the team. I think that's why guys like Steve Nash were so overlooked because they didn't really focus on getting themselves involved. It was all about how do I get the whole team going. And when you play like that, a lot of the times your stats drop. That's like Jokic, you probably could average 30 a game if you wanted to, but instead he'll get like a cool like 25, 10, and 8. But that's why, the Nuggets always have one of the better offenses in the league every year. That's why Steve Nash's Suns always had the better offenses because they just knew that balance. And I hope, I think that's Anthony Edwards' next step is how do you find the balance of getting yourself going, but making sure your whole team's involved.
I think it's no question it's his next step, but I think there's going to be pressure on the Timberwolves front office to go out and get another ball handler.
Let's say, or if that's not a step you think he's going to make, if you're the Timberwolves, I think you have to go see if you can find almost like a playmaking a playmaking big, kind of like how the Lakers got Pau for Kobe. There we go. Attack Jaden. Good hit. But if you can get a big that can rebound and kind of help, play make for Ant to, make up for that would help too. Which I think Julius Randle has done a fantastic job of for a lot of the year.
No, I like that. Like I said, I think the path forward for the Timberwolves is, yes, Ant needs to get better at how he keeps his teammates involved. The Timberwolves roster, though, you can't only have one true shot creator on your roster. At some point, even if you're a terrific defensive team, your offense goes stale because if they run a box and one or a straight up zone, Julius Randle can create his own shot and he can play make to a degree, but I wouldn't say you want him doing that constantly, trying to be a playmaker. To me, Julius Randle, I want him to score. I want him to rebound. I want him to be competitive on defense. I don't really want him to focus on playmaking.
Oh, absolutely. Oh. Good job, Julius. Once again, Julius realizes that, he's too big for Caruso.
Right. Fact.
Good hit, J-Dub. Also, if you're going to play a zone against this OKC team, you got to extend it to the three-point line.
Agreed.
You're going to leave that little mid-range open, but at this point, would you rather concede the 15-footer or would you rather concede the open three?
They're starting to get that separation again.
Get back on defense. J-Dub is getting hot. Ooh. When J-Dub gets rolling like this is when the Thunder become impossible to stop.
Agreed.
Okay. The ball went in the basket. That's all I'm going to say about that shot. Didn't expect Anthony Edwards to bust out the sweeping hook shot. That's really lazy lob right there by Caruso. Just take it up strong, Jaden. There we go. Good job. There we go. All these refs are working overtime. They just pan to every ref, and it's like a different player talking to them.
Right. And they're probably saying pretty much the same thing.
I got fouled. No, I got fouled. No, I got fouled. I got to give the credits to these refs, though. I don't know how they have the patience sometimes. I guess as long as the players are respectful with it, but, like, I can't imagine listening to players complaining all game long. Like, you see, he got me on the arm.
I think that's the key to you just said it. As long as they're respectful, I think the refs will put up with more. They'll tolerate more.
No, absolutely. Hey, and especially we had NBA. We also had the WNBA start, Mo. We've had a fun start to the season. We had started out with some flair. We had a fun game between the Aces and the Liberty to start out the year. And, of course, the next day we had a game between Indiana and Chicago. And here's what I want to say about Indiana versus Chicago, Mo, my takeaway. The Chicago Sky have to be better, just offensively, a lot better. That's a team last year, Mo, when the season ended. We both said that they need to improve their outside shooting.
Right.
They're a team that want to play in the paint, like this whole post-up identity, but they're not finishing their shots on the interior. Like, you can't be a post-centric team that can't post up. So one of two things is going to happen. Either these shooters have to be way better, or they have to be ready to finish, these post-up attempts in traffic. But I think it's a mix of both. I think the Chicago Sky, their shooters have to be better, and they just got to work on their finishing, man. Obviously, people like to pick on Angel, but it's not just Angel. It's like Camilla's finishing's been off, and just the whole team in general just look completely out of whack. I know they got a new coach and, new teammates, so it's going to be a process, but it's almost looking like a lot of the same problems they had last year starting to follow them into this year.
I agree. I think they're stuck in the mud. I get it that you do have a lot of depth up front with your bigs, but I want to say this in a way that sounds like I'm not killing them. I don't think the bigs they have are the kind of bigs that are scorers, or at least they're not natural scorers. So could Angel Reese give you a double-double? Yep. Can Cordova do that? Yes. But they do it through their work and their energy. They're not the type of players that you throw it into the post and go get me a bucket, because they're really just not that polished of post players. They're just not. That doesn't mean they won't get better and more polished, because they're both young women who are still developing in their NBA career. But I'm just saying, it's sort of like, what is that saying when they try to do Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese? What did they say? It's Magic and Bird.
Yeah,
it's not Magic and Bird. It isn't.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I like your take. I think it is closer to being Magic and Andre Drummond or Joakim Noah, which, by the way, there's no shade there. In his prime, Drummond was giving you like 16 points and 14 or 15 rebounds a game. Like, that's no shade. Really good player. I believe Noah won DPOY one time and made a couple of all-star teams. Again, that's not shade, and that's a better comparison. Angel Reese is a low post player. Caitlin Clark is a perimeter player and a lot more skilled. So it's just a difference. There's a separation.
Yeah, it's one of those things with Angel. A lot of people like to compare her to Andre Drummond, but I just think she plays the game, like approaches it a lot differently than Andre Drummond. And I think with her, I see a little bit more of, because she can already play make probably a lot better than Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond, I wouldn't trust him to throw in it like a basic bounce pass half the time. So,
no, was a good playmaker.
But so I think her almost like playmaking is a lot more. Her play style just almost reminds me a lot more of Noah. But I think with the Sky, I think they just need to get somebody in there that can be like a number one a number one option to really tie it all together.
Yes, I'm with you. They need somebody on the wing or the perimeter that can be their number one, their go-to, because I think that player would bring out the best in Angel Reese and Cordova and the rest of those girls. They're in desperate need of a wing scorer that can initiate their offense.
Hey, ironically, they shot 41% from three today against the Liberty. They just shot 52% from the free throw line, so it kind of just outdid that. Yeah, it's funny with Caitlin, people want to compare her to Steph, but Kyle actually said this on Tuesday, and it almost makes a lot more sense to me. I think she has Steph range, but the way she play make and sees the open floor, and it almost reminds me more of it almost reminds me more so of her play style kind of reminds me more of Trae Young than Steph Curry.
Yeah, because I think Trae Young takes his fair share of criticism, but he's a better playmaker than Steph Curry. He is. He's a better playmaker. And I think that Caitlin Clark is she can score the ball, but she can make passes that are in tight windows that a lot of people can't make.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Caitlin is almost closer to play stylistically to Trae, except I think her defense is just a lot better than Trae Young's.
I agree
on that end of the floor. So she's almost to me looking like Trae Young if he was more engaged on defense and had more, added a little more efficiency to his game. To be fair, Caitlin, I think was a 30. I can't remember what she shot from three last year. I think it was 32 or 33. It wasn't that high last year, but
right.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the growth and development of both those ladies. And hey, Paige made it to the W. That's great for the game.
Paige buckets is nice. Yeah. This can't happen. If Randall's going to call for that pass, he's got to catch it strong and go up strong.
Yeah, because this is not looking good.
This is the scary part of the game. He makes this free throw. They're up 10. It doesn't feel like they're up 10, but they're up 10. And then they go on a run. And before you know it, you're down 20. Minnesota has to find a way to stay attached.
Yeah, I hate the entry passes that they're throwing. You cannot throw that. If you're Minnesota and you want to throw it into the post, you have to make sure you're fronting.
Right.
The minute you turn your back to go get the ball to the Thunder defense, they're going to swarm, just like they did with Julius Randle. Andre says, I don't really know what Minnesota can do. It just starts with being smarter with the basketball and not turning it over. Yeah. Once again, unless you're posting up and you're peeking behind you, you cannot take your eyes off these help defenders. Head on a swivel.
Yeah, that shot by Alexander Walker, that was a horrible shot. And that, don't penetrate just for the sake of penetrating. Know what you're doing. Be decisive in your movement. That shot was basically a turnover because Oklahoma City was off and running. You've got to be smarter than that.
Hey, to me, right now is, I know a lot of people are talking about it. To me, this right now is showing you why the Caruso for Giddey trade was such a win-win. At Giddey, it was something that the Bulls needed to give them some excitement and a potential, point guard of the future. And you're seeing the Alex Caruso value right now. Giddey put up the more gaudy numbers, but when the Thunder need a big play in the playoffs, Caruso's delivering, which is something that Giddey couldn't do for him. So I love the trade for both teams, and I love what Alex Caruso's doing, and he's showing his mettle right now.
I like Josh Giddey as a basketball player, but because of his talent, he's a luxury that a team like the Lakers couldn't afford. Josh Giddey's probably going to get, if I had to guess, at least $100 million contract, or maybe 150, which which is too rich for a lot of franchises' blood. I get why the Bulls would keep him, but if I'm him, I don't know if I want to be part of the Bulls because I feel like the Bulls are they're in rebuild mode like every 2 or 3 seasons. They just repeat the same cycle over and over again. And if I'm Josh Giddey, I don't know if I want to sign up for that.
Oh, fair enough. We'll get to see what who they add in the draft. I'm excited to see how the NBA draft goes because I feel like once we get past like pick 3 or pick 2 even, that's where the fun begins.
You think it might get a little crazy?
Yeah, I actually almost feel like we know pick 3. If the 76ers keep it, the pick's probably just going to be straight up Ace Bailey, but
I'm okay with that. That would be a smart, solid pick by the Sixers. I think you make that pick because your future is Maxey. Your future is Ace Bailey. Your future is what's the young man from Duke that got injured? I think he's a point or a 2 guard. I can't remember his name now, but he's part of your future. I don't view Paul George or Joel Embiid as part of the Sixers' future. Like, if he won't do it because Daryl Morey is really hard-headed, but you got to get rid of those anchors that are around your franchise's neck. You got to get rid of them. With Embiid, you could at least sell to one of the really bad franchises, like, hey, you know, he gives you credibility. He's an all-NBA player and all that kind of stuff when he's healthy. With Paul George, I don't think you can give that contract away.
Yeah, it's funny because I've joked with the some of the people I'm friends with because they're like, you know, we're talking about if Philly wins the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, you know, and I'm like, well, I mean, hey, good for them. They need somebody to throw entry passes to Joel Embiid.
Right.
And that's kind of what my concern is with Joel Embiid. Do I think he can be a very productive basketball player still? Yeah, sure, in the right system.
Yeah.
But if you want to run a team with, you know, Maxey, Jared McCain, Ace Bailey,
That's him.
That's a team where you want to run. You want to play fast. And I don't even want to know what would happen if we tried to play fast with Joel Embiid in, you know, 2025. Like, I feel like that just sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
It definitely sounds like an injury waiting to happen because even now, when he runs, he's laboring. And I hope that was just, you know, the fact that he was injured, because if you're going to tell me that's how he's going to move from the rest of his career, we need to move on from him. I do agree with you. If he's 100% healthy, Joel Embiid can still play at an all NBA level. My only problem is, can he stay healthy to play at an all NBA level? Because from what I'm seeing is the betting odds are you would take the under on that.
I'm the 76ers. I'm letting a team like the Phoenix Suns find out.
Well, they already found out. They got Bradley Beal. They traded away their future to get KD. They already found out.
Hey, you might be able to convince them, like, you know what you need? Joel Embiid.
At this point, knowing their owner, Ishbia, he'd go for that. Like, we do need Embiid.
That would be the most, like, hilarious team, like, to ever be constructed. Booker, Durant, Beal, Embiid. Granted, you'd probably need to send one of them out to match salaries, so...
Yeah.
The funny part is, like, Beal probably just says no to waiving his no-trade clause, so... I've seen you might be able to... You know, it's funny. Like, I've seen people try to say, like, throughout the trade, like, throughout a mock trade where you trade Paul George for Kevin Durant, but the kicker for the Suns is you send them the number 3 pick.
Nice.
And I'm like, that just sounds like awful if I'm the Philadelphia 76ers. Cason Wallace.
Yeah, that was big. That was a great pass. Look, you and I both know Kevin Durant is he's had a transcendent career, terrific player. And I know people can point to the numbers and go, yeah, Mo, and he's still giving people 26, 7, and 5 or something like that. I get it. And he still shoots a high percentage. but he's 36, man, and he's going to be 37. Why would you go there? Why would you go there? Like at this point in his career, it would be really refreshing if Durant sat down in an interview and said, I know I can help a team win, but I have to do it in a different role. Like I can't be the guy. I fully agree with that. On a title contending team, this current version of Kevin Durant cannot be the guy.
Yeah, no, I agree, Andre. This OKC team is just way too good.
They're way too good, and Minnesota is they're just not a good matchup for them. And again, I'll repeat it until the series is over, and that might be in 2 more games. If Anthony Edwards is going to be content with being pretty good, they're going to get swept. I made a real simple statement, Brett. Let's see if you can appreciate this. I said Ant had to be as good or better than Shea to make it a great series.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he had to be decisive. I don't even think he could be like 90% as good as Shea. Like I think he had to be decisively on Shea's level in this series. And
right. And so I asked the question the other day, who was the better basketball player? Full well knowing who I think is the better basketball player. By the way, spoiler alert, I think Shea's a better basketball player because he is. He's more polished. He thinks the game through, and he's always under control. And now, to be fair to Ant is a full 3 years younger than him. So could he get better? Absolutely. I still think Anthony Edwards is developing, but Shea is so polished. His game is so refined. He already has a go-to shot. Like Anthony Edwards doesn't even have a go-to shot.
no, absolutely. If Ant is Jordan's son, he needs to turn it on.
Yeah, they need to stop calling him that. He's not that. I mean, he's better than Jordan's son, but he's not Jordan's son.
No, absolutely. It's kind of frustrating sometimes when they compare, like, because they do it with young superstars, and even in the draft too. Like, not everybody needs to be compared to a superstar. Like Anthony Edwards is going to be great in his own right, and he has a career trajectory where he very well could end up in the Hall of Fame. But that doesn't mean that if you're a Hall of Fame level player, there's levels to greatness. There's levels in the Hall of Fame. Like not every Hall of Famer is built the same. Bernard King is not going to be talked about in the same vein as someone like Larry Bird or MJ, and that's okay.
It is, and I love Bernard King, but when they sit down for dinner at the Hall of Fame, Bernard King ain't sitting at that table.
No, and like I said, they're going to review that.
Yeah, they have to. That's a great point. Like Vlade Divac is in the Hall of Fame, the Basketball Hall of Fame, because of what he did overseas, his career over there as well. So he's in the same Hall of Fame as Wilt, as Russell, as Kareem, as Shaq. But it hits different. Like he's not sitting next to them, right? You feel me? He's not near those dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I feel like people do that too when we're doing like draft comparisons too. They'll be like, who's this player like? Oh, he's the next Kobe or Michael. It's like people are so like hell-bent on trying to like find the next superstar that they just end up overrating some of these young guys. And
they've been doing it for years.
Yeah, and I'm just like, no, they're not. And, that's okay.
Did you and I not say, it might not even been a year ago, but it was somebody in the chat that said something, and you and I had already made up our mind, but we said we think Devin Booker was a better basketball player than Anthony Edwards, right?
Oh, yeah. I've been on that train for a minute.
Right. Now, I get it. They're going to say, well, Anthony Edwards knocked Phoenix out of the playoffs. He did, but that was a horrible Phoenix team. Horrible Phoenix team. When Devin Booker is fully healthy, with capable players around, not stars, because I know if Devin Booker could go back into a time machine, he'd go, I'm going to go back in time. I'm going to get Cam Johnson back. I'm going to get Bridges back. I'm going to even get Ayton back. That Phoenix team, they should still be together. But because they lost in the finals, James Jones made a panic move and he broke it up.
Right. And yeah, it's one of those things too. Like I would love to see more like I would love to see more like NBA draft comparisons to like regular star level players or just like even like your rotational players.
Yeah.
One of my favorite guy, like this is the guy who's like draft boards I pay attention to the most. It's funny because I don't even know if his draft boards are public yet, but I'm in a couple discords with him and he shares them. Shout out to the legend Reverse Enigma. But one of the reasons why I love him, because you can clearly tell he watches all these prospects, but he gives like more realistic comparisons, right? Not everybody's like, for example, I'll give you Dylan Harper, for example. It's not going like Dylan Harper is going to be the next, like, Steph Curry. No, he has a high-end comparison of Dylan Harper to Darren Williams, which I think is a very fair comparison.
Wow. That's still high praise.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I kind of love his work. So I hope he does make all of his draft stuff public if he hasn't already. But yeah, no, I just love it when people are like more realistic about some of these prospects that we're gonna see coming into the league.
No, I love that. I got to check him out some more. He sounds like he puts a lot of time and work in. So we look up and what is the score? Were they up 15, 16?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is one more mini run and it's night.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'll see if his board's public anywhere and I'll send it to you because it's great because he adds to it like every day and it's 82 names deep. So he's not just looking at like the top 60 players. Like he just kind of keeps on going and going until the draft. So
that's awesome, man. I wish we could get him on M1.
I would love it. I'm definitely like eventually when the draft does happen, definitely the day after we'll talk about all the draft.
Right.
And I think I'll definitely be using some of his boards and stuff.
I love that. I'm here for it. Yeah, it's about to be Michelob time. I don't drink, but it's about to be Michelob. It is, yeah. This is you know what this is when you see a boxing match or a tennis match and you go, this is a mismatch. This is a mismatch.
Ayton was not physical enough. It's funny.
It
Jeez. Yeah. Wrap it up. Technical on chat. Wrap it up. It's over.
Yeah. No, people were really down on Ayton, but I want to just remind them his role on that Suns team that went to a conference final, then eventually went to an NBA finals. He was like the fourth offensive option. He wasn't the second option he was the fourth. His role was, I know he saw himself as more than that, but in reality, no, he's not more than that. But what he was, Brett, was fine, right? If you told me, Mo, I'm going to give you a center that gives you 16 and 12, and he boxes just under 2 shots a game, what's wrong with that?
My biggest frustration with Ayton, the funny part is, it's really just watching him was frustrating at times because he would like pick and choose, and obviously like after a certain point he just didn't want to be in Phoenix, but this kind of carried over to Portland too, is just how uncommitted he is at times. Like I'm watching him just kind of watch other guys get rebounds, and it's really that energy and motor is what frustrates me the most about Ayton.
That's fair.
At the end of the day, he's one of my least favorite players in the league because I get frustrated with guys that have the potential to be so good, and I think Ayton had the potential to be a top 10 center in the league.
I agree,
but
I agree.
He doesn't seem to have the drive for it, and that's kind of what frustrates me with him.
To be fair, the guy they replaced him with, you just described him to a T as well. That's Nurkic. That's Nurkic.
To be fair,
Nurkic, everything about Nurkic says he should be a much better player than what he is.
You know what's funny? To be fair, I hated the Ayton trade, but that's literally because they were just acquiring Nurkic. And I'm like, what? Because it's like when the rumored trade is like, yeah, you could get Miles Turner, but you end up with Nurkic. I'm like,
Right.
I don't
Right.
understand that, but
I don't understand that. You didn't. If you got Nurkic for Ayton, that's not an upgrade. That's like a sideways move. They're very similar. Both have low motors. I don't want to use the word often, but when it's true, it's true. They both got a lot of quit in them.
I don't even think that was a side. I think that was just a straight downgrade, honestly.
Fair enough.
Mo, have OKC answered all the questions you've had about them?
So yeah, look. The funny thing is, it was Gene I was talking to. Maybe it was last week when I said I thought watching them in the Denver series, they grew up some because there were a couple of games that were really close games that they gutted out, and those two games that ultimately put them in a position to take control of the series. But they gutted out tough games, and you know this because you're a numbers guy. OKC played in the most clutch games of any team the last 2 seasons in the league. Like, and I'm not killing them for that because that's what they do. They usually blow the doors off teams. But when all you do is blow the doors off teams, you're not really equipped to win grinded out games. And they did that in the Denver series. So do I think they impressed me in that? I mean, I don't want to kill them. I think OKC is going to come out of the West clearly, but I think they're coming out of the West because the team that gave them the most competition, that was Denver. I know this is the conference finals, but I felt like when they beat Denver, that was the conference finals, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that definitely was. It felt like the conference finals, right? Like, you knew like Minnesota could give them a fight, but everything had to go right. And Minnesota came into these first 2 games and they just cannot do anything right.
And I've been stubborn. I was like, I kept prefacing everything I said with if Anthony Edwards is special. And I didn't even say they were going to win the game or win the series. I said if he's special, it could be a great series. But if he's anything less than that, which he has been, they're going home. Matter of fact, they're getting ready to go home now for game 3. But I guess my point is they're going to be staying home at this rate.
The Wolves were like the number 1 team I wanted to win the finals this year, but I'll tell everybody right now that's because I wanted to see Mike Conley before he retired. Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert were the 2 reasons why I wanted them to win a ring.
And look, nobody has shown flowers and pointed out Rudy Gobert's impact more than my partner. And he's doing it, and he's right on every point he makes. So we don't really argue about that because I do think that, it's tongue in cheek. Somebody shows a highlight reel of Rudy getting crossed over in the postseason, but if you watch the whole series, he actually was terrific in space. Like like in the Lakers series when they were like, I think Luka got 1 jumper off on him, and then but on social media it was Luka's killing him. But in reality, the numbers said he did a terrific job on Luka. You know what I mean? Like there's perception and then there's reality. Rudy is a terrific defender. I know he can look awkward at times, but he's a terrific defender and he does impact games. It's not going to look that way in this series. This is a hard series for him to be as impactful because Oklahoma City has weapons all over the place.
It's funny too because I feel like the Timberwolves half the time still look better with Rudy on the court because
I would leave him on the court. They have no look. The way Oklahoma City is getting to the basket at will, if he's in the game, that doesn't happen. So I'm gonna go old school. I say you dance with the one that brung you, and Rudy is primarily why the Timberwolves are a top 5 defense. Don't change that. Don't change that. I get Oklahoma City presents challenges, but don't change your identity.
Yeah, because at least Rudy takes away something. Like, he takes away, the rim. And he kind of helps force them to be a little more one-dimensional.
Yeah.
When they go small, just, like, you can attack the rim, which completely opens up the 3. I think half the problem, too, is it's just lazy passes. I think the frustrating part watching Minnesota right now, it's all these turnovers are avoidable. They're just throwing the most lazy entry passes they possibly can, like every chance they get. And if you're facing a team, for example, like the Lakers, who aren't going to swarm the ball like OKC,
Right.
you can get away with throwing some lazy entry passes. That's fine. But when you have OKC, you have like 4 or 5 guys that legitimately could have made the All NBA defensive team. Like, you have to be crisp and firm with your execution. And the Wolves just have not been at all.
That's another thing. You can't be sloppy with the basketball against OKC. You can't. And you can't get frustrated when they get the best of you at times. Like, if they hit you with a run, I still think you got to keep your poise, come down and run a set that you're comfortable with and try to get back that way instead of just coming down the court and forcing up a shot. And too many times they respond by Ant coming down or Randall coming down and just forcing up an ill-advised shot. And before you know it, OKC is out and running, and the 10-point lead is a 20-point lead.
Yeah, no, and sometimes these role players too, just I feel like they have to, I also say besides know their roles. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker a couple times is driving into traffic, and I'm like, what are you going to do once you get there? Like, you're not a great passer. You're not a great finisher. Like, what exactly is your plan? And, like, Dante has done it a couple times. I feel like some of these role players, when they drive to the paint, they got to have a plan because half the time they just look clueless and throw up a really bad contested shot and let the Thunder get on a break.
All right, I need Naz Reid to have go on one of those Aaron Naismith runs.
Yeah. Who do we have winning the Eastern Conference Finals? You know what? Give me Indiana.
I'm not going to change my pick. I'm going to keep it 100. I picked the Knicks to win, but I picked the Knicks to win in 7. I thought it was going to be a 7-game series, and I still think it's going to be a 7-game series.
I love how you said we need Naz Reid to go on an Aaron Naismith run, and then he just throws up the worst brick of the game. My Lord, that was a bad.
Yeah. Well, I said we needed it. I didn't think we were gonna get it, but we do need it. We do need it.
Yeah, no. I picked the Pacers to win, but also that was actually kind of almost out of pure hate because I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch Stephen A. victory lap for like the next 5 years.
Don't forget, if the Pacers go to the finals, it sure does make your Hallie being a top 11 player look even better, right? You know what I'm saying?
At this point, it's all cherry on top, right?
You know what I mean? Like it's looking really good right about now, right?
At this point, it's all cherry on top. Like my Tyrese Halliburton, fringe top 10 player. Like I said, coming into the year, I had him at 11. Like that looks fantastic right now. Good job. And that's the other thing Rudy does for this team. Like, he's one of the few that can help create second chances just by being big.
Yeah.
Like right there, like him just going up for the rebound caused enough confusion. There must have been a breakdown on that one because Rudy stepped up and then nobody went back to help Rudy with iHeart. So that was just an easy dunk. But Rudy, just by being big and always in the right spots, going for these rebounds, he gets them a lot of second chance points or opportunities.
I agree. He's also a really good, they don't talk about it a lot, but he's actually a really good screen setter.
Oh, he's one of the best in the league. I think the only guy you can argue that might be better than him is Steven Adams on Houston. It's one of those things that's almost becoming like, it's funny because people talk about wanting all their guys to be this athletic and shoot threes. But listen, you need a couple of those throwback bruisers on your team to be able to set some strong screens. One of the big flaws of almost like a Mobley or like a Chet kind of player is they don't really set the strongest of screens.
Yeah, facts.
Say that's something that was one of the reasons. That's why when the report that came out last year when the Cavs, they're like, yeah, Donovan Mitchell really likes playing with Jared Allen. I wasn't surprised because Jared Allen is just such a good screen setter, and he setting a good screen gets somebody like Donovan Mitchell so much space.
Going into next year, do you think Cleveland makes any major moves, or they just bring back their core?
I think they'll run back their core. I think if anybody moves, I think there's a possibility that they move Jared Allen. But I think he's about the only one that I would consider moving. You know, you need Darius Garland's skill set. I think he's a perfect secondary playmaker to kind of play off of Donovan Mitchell. Now, can't just throw the easy one to Rudy at that point.
Right.
But no, I think Garland and Mitchell are a perfectly fine backcourt. Unfortunately, you know, Garland got hurt at a really inopportune time this year. But I think if you're looking to move one of them, I think the easy answer is Jared Allen, because you're not moving on from Mobley, especially after he just won DPOI.
Right.
So yeah, they're gonna have to make some tough choices because now like half their bench is a free agent, and they got to re-sign Ty Jerome,
who didn't play so well in the postseason.
Yeah, I don't think that won't stop them from having to pay a pretty penny for him. Somebody will give him a big deal.
Ty Jerome's a good basketball player. They've got a good bench. I guess I'm a little bit more hesitant than you are. Like, they opted for continuity this season. Maybe what I'm wondering is, even though I know he's a terrific talent, I'm wondering if Donovan Mitchell can be the best player on a title-winning team. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Because I think we always forget too that Donovan Mitchell, correct me if I'm wrong, he's about 6'2" or 3", right? He's not big. I mean, he's built powerful, but I'm talking about in terms of height. He and Garland, it's probably the smallest backcourt in the NBA. I think Donovan Mitchell is great, but I feel like he's going to have to play with someone else who's a better player. He can still be their leading scorer, but I don't think he can be their best player. That's the way I'm trying to put it.
And you know what? That's fair enough. That's a question that will remain to be answered because him as the best player, he hasn't made it out of the second round in either conference. So,
and that's not me saying I don't think it. Again, if somebody said, "Mo, you want him on your team?" Absolutely. Absolutely, I want him on my team. It's a weird thing about sports where we call guys stars, but at the same time, we're like, yeah, he's a star, but he's probably, if we're thinking bigger picture, he's probably a number 2 and not a number 1. Like, could he be a number 1? Yes. Donovan Mitchell can be a number 1, but I think there's a ceiling to how far he can take you as a number 1.
No, that's fair enough. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what the answer is with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I hate this commercial.
If let's say if I'm looking for if I'm the Orlando Magic though, I'm calling Cleveland. Give me Donovan Mitchell or even like a Darius Garland or even like a Ty Jerome on.
Okay, you brought it up. That's a Now you brought it up, but it probably won't happen. But you just kind of spoke to what I was thinking. If you paired Donovan Mitchell with Paolo would be the number 1, and D. Mitch could play off of him because what they're really missing in Orlando is they don't have a perimeter player. I'm talking about wings. Like I think Paolo goes like 6'8", 240, but they don't have a wing or smaller guy that complements what he does. But Donovan Mitchell would be a perfect complement to what Paolo does.
Yeah, I think so too. I would love for them to get like a all NBA or even like an all-star caliber guard like a Donovan Mitchell or even like a Darius Garland would be terrific. I think you kind of knew the Magic were cooked on like one of their first possessions of the game. They're giving it to KCP to try to create. I'm like, oh, good Lord. Like, if you're giving it to KCP to create your own shot, like, just wrap it up. The series is over.
I love their bookend forwards. I love him and Franz together. That works. But you need a 2 guard who can play, make, and drop 20 something or a given night, or a point guard that can do that. And they don't have that, so that they need more floor balance, and they don't really have any.
I also think that they just kind of need I think they need an upgrade at center. I don't think Wendell Carter just is cutting it anymore, honestly.
You know what I do like about Wendell Carter, though? And again, if I told this to him or him and his agent, they would probably laugh at me and walk out the door. But I'd be like, I think Wendell Carter would be a terrific backup center. I think he could be he's a good player. I don't think he's a natural starter like that. I'm not killing the guy because I think he has great value. But in the role that the Magic are in, I think they need a more defensive minded center that you can book them for being like a double-double guy.
No,
you know what? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they need Jared Allen.
No, and I completely agree. I think the problem with Wendell Carter is now people think he's something that he's not.
Right.
When we're talking about Wendell Carter, everybody's like, oh, but he can space the floor. Do we want to play a game of what Wendell Carter, the floor spacer, looks like in 2025? It's not pretty.
Right.
He shot 23% on wide open shots and 24% on open looks. I think at this point, I think you kind of hit it on the head where do I think Wendell Carter could be a productive member on a important basketball team?
Right.
Sure, but it's not as a starter anymore because he also doesn't protect the rim very well.
He does not. Agreed. Yes. That was my point. On a team that's actually a really good defensive team, he's not a really good rim protector. They could be even better defensively with a legitimate rim protector.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I need to see an upgrade. I'd love to see it even next year. And I don't even think it would take that much to upgrade from him at this point. Starting center wise, I think even in limited minutes, good take by Daniels.
Yeah.
I think,
nice.
even go out and get somebody to help shore up that center rotation. Even a Brook Lopez would help them a ton, I think.
Yes. I think Brooks a proven veteran, and he would be effective and impactful in the locker room because he's playoff tested and proven. I think that if Brook chooses to move on from the Bucks, I think Orlando would be a good landing spot for him. I like that.
No, just too easy. Shea's getting into the paint.
And the funny thing is, Ant's getting into the paint, but he's not finishing.
I mean, that's just normal Ant, but
it's so weird. How are you that athletic but such a bad finisher?
You know who else I think that about, by the way? You know who's shockingly bad at finishing in the paint as well? Cade Cunningham. Cade's got to work on his finishing a ton next year.
I noticed that. I've heard about it, but to see it, I saw it a ton in the Knicks series.
Yeah, he was exceptionally bad, at the rim, and that's something that he's just really got to work on.
SGA, in game one, he had 31, but he didn't shoot the ball efficiently. He just got to the foul line. This game, he's shooting at a high level and he's getting to the free throw line. You didn't take nothing away. You actually gave him more. Meanwhile, look, see what they're doing? They're playing a really smart matchup zone. And that was the first time they actually attacked it going downhill. Do that more.
No, absolutely. It's one of the pages that I follow on Twitter. It's the NBA University. They showed they were showing the worst. Good dunk, Rudy. They were showing the worst finishers or the most high volume finishers and their percentages. And Cade was up there. He's taking a lot of shots at the rim, and the problem was he was only converting 39% of them against the Knicks.
That's crazy.
So I'm just what in the world? I feel that's almost the next step of Cade's development. He's developed this really good midi, and I love that for him. But next step is, dude, you just got to finish. When you get close, you got to finish these shots.
And there goes Ant taking another three. Because that's pretty much, and there's another turnover, and that's pretty much all she wrote. Turn out the lights. Now, mind you, there's 6 minutes left. I guess if this was the Pacers, they might come back. We can both agree that Minnesota does not have the Pacers' depth.
No, and they just don't have the tenacity. It feels like it's fun.
Yeah,
it's funny because people are gonna talk about, the finishing of the Thunder, and of course I'm sure that, they're going to mention Rudy Gobert, but the frustrating part right now is like he just gave up his hip and Shea just had a free lane to the basket. Granted, McHale just shoved him.
Yeah, but that's not even a basketball play. You just blatantly shoving him. And I'm like, that's a great point when that play kind of tells you like they've completely lost their composure, right?
Yeah, and it's been like all game where you're just giving free line drives to the basket, and you can have an elite rim protector, but I could have like Hakeem Olajuwon back there, but if I'm not putting like any pressure on the ball handler and they're just getting free line drive after free line drive,
right?
Even your all-time great rim protector is going to give up a lot of points.
I guess. Now that you saw the replay, did you see where Shea grabbed him first?
Yeah.
I'm not making excuses for McDaniels throwing him to the ground because he was wrong for doing that, but that's what Shea can do to you. He can demoralize you and frustrate you because they never see the first blow or the first foul. And he's really good at hooking guys with his off arm and then jerking his body like you're grabbing him.
Yeah, Jaden's got to be better. He's got to keep his emotions in check because the reality of the situation is it feels like the game's over. 16-point lead, though, that's still doable. It's tough, but doable.
It is doable. Do I trust the Timberwolves offense? No.
No, but if you're the Timberwolves, I don't think a 16-point deficit is the point of, this game is over, completely lose faith.
Right.
And that's almost feels like the problem with the Timberwolves. They get punched in the mouth and they quit. The Thunder, when they got punched in the mouth by Denver, they responded. Yeah. No way. That's not a basketball play. Nah, but, Mo, when I look at the game tomorrow between Pacers-Knicks, I'm going to be watching those wings very, very closely. You brought in Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby to get stops, which they really couldn't do in game one. So I'm going to see was that a case of the Pacers just forgot how to miss, which also it very well could be because they did forget how to miss.
Right.
Or, do they have a much better game? But I think obviously the drop coverage is a problem, but I also think that those guys just have to be a lot better in game two because I think some of that you can attribute to hot shot making, but I think the reason they got hot is just poor defense overall by New York, and you don't want to get into a track meet with the Pacers.
And yet that's exactly what the Knicks did. Karl Anthony Towns, I believe he scored 35 points and had double-digit rebounds. I believe Brunson was well over 40 points. So your two leading scorers gave you about a combined 77, 78 points, and you still lost. And that has to be a little bit scary for New York. And even though they don't realize it, they do now because I'm sure they've watched the film. They allowed themselves to get pulled into a shootout with the Pacers. You don't want to do that. You can't beat them playing at their pace. Could you get a lead on them? Can you feel like you're pulling away? You can feel all those things, but they play the same way all the time, the entire game. I was joking about it on the morning show. They're Jacob Fatu. They're all gas, no brakes. You know what I mean? And I think New York is more of a walk it up, grind it out half court team. that that's how they want to play, and they allowed Indiana to speed them up.
Ooh, good finish by Walker. No, absolutely. And if I'm the Knicks, I'm just looking to completely slow the game down in game 2. Like, you have to get the Pacers are so good, though, at tricking teams, because I feel like I'm saying this every series, but every series they find a way to get you to play at their level. Like, they're so good at just baiting you into playing their game and taking you out of your element.
It's fool's gold is what it is. Like, and that game was improbable. Like I told people, you give the Pacers credit because they made those shots, but when you win a game like that, you have to get help from the other team too. And New York made a lot of uncharacteristic bad passes and turnovers late in that game. They missed free throws. Like they did a lot of things to help the Pacers beat them.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson had a couple of uncharacteristic turnovers, especially the one that almost, I think his biggest one was the almost turnover by OG. That OG kind of saved, but yeah, at the end of the day, it just came down to one thing. In clutch time, you have to hit your free throws. Mikal didn't do it. Cat went 1 of 2. Just when you need to put a game away, you got to knock down your free throws. And
yeah,
the thing with the Pacers is you got to slam the door on them. If you give them even a sliver of hope, they're going to take it and run with it. I don't get why Ant doesn't do more of that. Just get to the hole.
And that's fair because they guard him with a primary, but they hedge at both corners of the free throw line. So he's never completely one-on-one. They do play really good defense. I think that my problem with Ant is that he doesn't stay consistently aggressive throughout the game.
I think
that's a horrible pass. Oh my God.
My problem with Ant is it's too easy to trick him into going full tunnel vision mode, right?
Right.
Oh my goodness, Dort. Okay,
yeah,
come on.
Exactly.
You can make oh my goodness.
Even worse. Yeah.
And
even worse.
But yeah, it just feels like I know a lot of your great scorers do get tunnel vision. We've seen a lot of the times with guys we talk about Kobe having tunnel vision and whatnot, but a guy like Kobe at times would still move the ball when needed. He was actually,
right.
I think he was a much better passer than people give him credit for.
For sure.
And just occasionally he'll move the ball, but a lot of the times it just seems to be too easy to trick him into thinking that he needs to take over to win this game, when sometimes if he would just trust his team, he would get so much farther. So, hey, it's still a game, only 13 points. It's unlikely, but
it's not impossible, but we'll see. It's plenty of time to go on a strong run. But that applies to both teams. OKC can have a strong finishing kick.
I would love to watch Ant, and just kind of goes along with my point of making the team better, just kind of be better at reading the floor when he's getting into the paint. When he gets into the paint, he's shooting it.
Right. Agreed.
If he develops his drive and kick game to another level, that would help this team out so much. He's just been chucking all night though. Yeah.
I would like him to develop more of a post game too. You can be off the ball, you can go in the post and try to work out of the post. Add a little bit more to your game.
All great scorers know how to play in the post. Oh, Alex Caruso fouled out. Fair enough. But yeah, most of your, and I feel like that almost feels like that's kind of what's missing from a lot of these newer like star level players that don't quite break into that superstar mold. Like your superstars, a lot of them know how to play off the ball. Like I think the only like superstar that doesn't really play off the ball well, I would say probably Luka. Like he's the closest thing to he's a superstar that I would say has a great off ball game, but like LeBron knows how to play off the ball. Jokic can play off the ball. Even in a smaller role, I would almost say like, Giannis has shown some chops off the ball, just knowing how to get position and with off ball cutting and everything. So yeah, no, I feel like a lot of these stars that struggle to break into the superstar role, I think it's a lot of that is attributed to their kind of what they don't do off the ball.
Yeah. I think when you become so ball dominant that you don't know how to play without the ball in your hands, that becomes a problem. I think that's something that Ant has to add to his game. It's something even now, even though he's established himself as a superstar, it's something that Luka could do a lot more of, playing without the ball in his hands. So yeah, I think they can. It's great to see guys can still add to their games. Ant has a long way to go. He needs to polish his game up, but he also needs to add more to his game. And they need to help him. They need to help him by going out and getting another shot creator who can take him off the ball more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'd say a lot of your all-time greats were very underrated off the ball too. Guys like both Shaq and Kobe were actually pretty fantastic off the ball, I would say. But I feel like their games are a little more misunderstood. Like, when people talk about off-ball movers, they wouldn't think of Shaq. But I think Shaq was also just so good off the ball. Just because, he was always fighting for positioning. He wasn't like running around pin downs trying to shoot threes.
Right.
But how active he was, just posting up for position. If he didn't like it, swing it out, bury him under the basket more, and just his movement down low. I think he was one of the more underrated off-ball threats because of his activity. Or just him setting a off-ball screen and roll. Like, underrated off-ball players. Give me Shaquille O'Neal for 500.
That's a really good one. That's a really good one. I'll give you an underrated off-ball player, and he's a big too that nobody talks about. Tim Duncan.
Oh yeah,
Tim Duncan moved off the ball. He was a good playmaker, an underrated playmaker, not nowhere near to the level of Giannis and Joker, but Timmy was a complete basketball player. When I feel like a lot of people think when we say guys that are off the ball that they always got to be guys that are catch and shoot guys, right? Like, no, those guys don't count. Reggie Miller and Klay Thompson and Rip Hamilton, that don't count because that's what they do anyway. They don't go into that category. But Steph Curry goes into that category. You might make an argument Steph might be the greatest player ever off the ball.
When you talk about players with chemistry, like, Steph, Klay, Middleton, Giannis, like, there's just so many players that you can think of, who had great chemistry together. More underrated guys who had great chemistry, because you brought up Duncan and Tiago Splitter. Those guys knew how to play high-low, and they always knew where to find each other. In fact, just kind of like that big three of the Spurs with Splitter, Dia, and Duncan, just all were so good at finding each other. It made them so hard to stop because they just all mapped the floor out so well. Oh, 5 on SGA. Okay.
This has been easily the worst, Julius Randle's probably worst game of these playoffs. Not even close.
Yeah.
But chalk that up to Minnesota. They recognized how well he played last game, and they were determined not to let him get off to a fast start this game.
Yeah, no, and the Wolves, it's both of them not playing him at all in the fourth quarter. Like, you would think they'd give him some kind of run.
Right.
Honestly, I would have given him some run. Because I think at this point, Mo, like, even put him in now, and that's weird to say, but, like, see if you can help him establish a rhythm for game 3 at this point. When you're Julius Randle, and because this has got to be frustrating for him, because you've been the most consistent player for the Timberwolves the entire playoffs, but the first game you struggle, you're just glued to the bench the entire fourth quarter. Like, if I'm Julius, I'm, like, livid right now.
I get it. And maybe what the coach is doing is like, hey, this will motivate him for game 3. And look, you know how this goes. If the Timberwolves are able to go back to Minnesota and win both of those games, no harm, no foul. Although, judging off the way these 2 games have played out so far, I don't feel so good about that.
No, absolutely. I don't feel good about it either. But no, I really don't agree with keeping Randall on the bench. No, I say because yeah, he's gonna go right over Nas, ain't he? Yep. Yeah, no, it because I also like I think benching your star player, it also kind of creates this like frustrating dynamic. Like, okay, like why? Like, because listen, I feel like if you're bold enough to bench your star player when he struggles, if Ant's struggling, why didn't you throw him on the bench for an extended period?
Fair enough. I agree.
That
He is struggling, but yeah, I'm with you.
Listen, like, you know what's I love that he's the announcer, by the way, just said Anthony Edwards strong bounce back game. That's a choice. Like, he scored more points. I can't argue that. But also, like, did Anthony Edwards play good? Not really.
He did, and the assignment was he had to play as well or better than Shea, and he has not done that the first 2 games.
No, he really hasn't.
Actually, I'm not. I was gonna say I'm not so sure he's played better than J-Dub. Never mind Shea.
No, and that's problematic. People are, and this is going to be one of those games, Mo, where you kind of have to watch it, right? Because, you know, if you try to talk to somebody about this game, they're going to be like, well, Ant had, 32, 9, and 6. Like,
Right.
Wasn't an impressive 32, 9, and 6. Like,
Or efficient. Yeah.
it wasn't like he's 12 of 26 from the field. He was 7 of 18 in the first half. So if you want to tell me he played a better second half than first half, like, yeah, sure. But, like, do I think that Ant played necessarily well this game? No, you really didn't.
This played out very similar. And they're going to take another L. And 12 for 26. 1 for 9 from 3. That ain't going to get it. I'm looking at Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels actually shot the ball well, considering that he had his hands full having to guard Shea. Naz Reid and Nickeil Alexander Walker. I think Alexander Walker did his part. I think Naz Reid, was he better than he was in game 1? He was, but he wasn't good. Like, it's the same with Ant as Naz Reid. Like, I need Naz Reid, the guy that was a candidate for 6th Man of the Year, and that guy hasn't showed up yet.
Right, like Anthony Edwards is kind of like he to me, this game is almost like the equivalent of what people accuse Dak Prescott of being. Like, I'm so glad you can throw for 300 yards in garbage time. Like, to me, that's what he did. It's like, oh, I'm so glad you can start piling on points when you're down 16 in the fourth quarter.
Facts.
But say, yeah, I agree, Andre. Chet's scoring has been great these past two series.
Me too. Me too.
Brett, get that post-series video ready. Yeah.
I'm with you, Kyle. Look, the fan in me, I wanted a great series. It doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Well, we're going to see. Are they going to have more fight? Say more fight in game 3? And listen, I think that, and this might be a hot take to some, but don't be afraid to bench Anthony Edwards if he continues to struggle. Look, listen, call me crazy, but we've seen it before. Does anybody remember game 6 of the 2015 matchup between the Clippers and Rockets? When Kevin McHale benches James Harden and the bench just happens to get, going? I'm not saying that maybe benching Ant is the answer, but also at the same time, if the first minute that Julius Randle struggled, you're going to bench him for the entire fourth, at that point, all bets are off. Don't be scared to bench Ant for an extended period. What's the worst that's going to happen? You lose, you're doing that anyway with Ant. Don't be afraid to send a message.
They're going to need to come out fast, aggressive, take some energy from the crowd. Now, when you're down 2-0 and you're going home, the mission is to win game 3. And then if you win game 3, then you talk about winning game 4. But that's how you got to do it. And you can go to the study and go, what we need to do. You said it, Brett. Yeah, your best players, Randall, Ant. I think Rudy Gobert, they have to involve him more in the game. And I think that they have to stop going small when OKC goes small. When they go small, I think Rudy can make them pay for that.
It's frustrating too because it almost feels like they're scapegoating Rudy. We got to take him out,
right?
Because they're scoring. When it's okay, but when I'm watching these guys get straight line drives to the rim at will, it's almost like a repeat of what happened last year, where in the most crucial moments, the perimeter defense just kind of falls apart and allows a lot of stuff right at the rim. And even your best rim protectors can only cover up so much if your perimeter defense is just allowing straight line drives at the rim. I watched that not this past year, but the year before when the Bucks tried to run a backcourt with Dame Lillard and Malik Beasley. No matter what Giannis and Brook tried to do, there was only so much they could cover up. And that's something that I want to see improve in game 3. If the Timberwolves want to win, you got to get physical. You got to get some pressure on these ball handlers. And you have to force turnovers yourself. When I look and it's 14-6 and OKC is just protecting the ball at will, you got to find a way to force some turnovers and get yourself some second chance points.
And they gotta look like they understand that they have to play desperate basketball. They got to be the ones first to the 50-50 balls, take some charges, be the first to punch and not always be the one to have to react. Oklahoma City gets them on their heels and they just take it. They got to show some more fight. They showed a little bit more tonight, but I'm talking about show enough fight to where you can actually win a game. They got to show more fight. And they can't let, when OKC goes up on them, they can't let their frustrations get the best of them. You got to be smart.
No, absolutely. And that's all that's all we had for you today. We had a little fun. We did a watch along. You can catch us tomorrow morning when we talk about some NBA, NFL, and of course there's some wrestling news that broke today that is definitely worthy to talk about.
Yeah.
We might be seeing Travis Scott at Money in the Bank.
Yeah. Okay.
WrestleMania is officially being moved out of New Orleans next year. Can't wait to talk about all that tomorrow. Mo, do you have anything for everybody before you get up on out of here?
No, I want to thank Andre, Kyle. I want to thank Tony, Gene, Jory, Key, everybody else that came up in the chat to join us in this watch along. Thank you guys so much. Hey guys, make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. You will see me my amazing partner, the point guard, Guardy 3, tomorrow morning on Coffee Sports in the morning at 9 o'clock. Check us out. We appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. And you can, like I said, catch us tomorrow. Me and Peanut appreciate you. One of our puppy prospects. Like I said, thank you guys very much for tuning in tonight. We appreciate it, right? And have a great night. Say bye, Peanut.
Thank you for tuning in to the And One podcast. If you like our content, you can find more on the Wire to Wire Podcast Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Want more And One? Find it on Wire to Wire. Like and share our Facebook page and join the And One Discord. Grab the link to join from our Facebook. Thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful day.